Okay, let's unpack this one. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are ripping open a book that's just been setting off conversations absolutely everywhere. R.F. Kuang's Yellowface.
Yeah, it's hard to miss this one.
Totally. Our goal for you today, pretty simple. We've sifted through, all the detailed analyses, the reviews, everything we could find on this novel. And we're here to pull out the most sort of mind-bending aha moments, the stuff that makes you feel like you really get what's going on. And why this book specifically, well, our research shows it's not just a story, right? It's this razor-sharp satirical look at publishing, authorship, and honestly, some really current, really intense cultural debates. You're in for a treat, I think.
What's truly fascinating here, and this comes through in our source material, is how Kuang manages to make Yellowface, well, two things at once. It's an irresistibly compelling story, like you want to know what happens next, but it's also this incredibly clear mirror reflecting some really complex societal issues. It has this precision to it, so it gives you this unique lens,
Right.
for understanding the current discourse around identity, authenticity, and just the power and maybe the peril of storytelling.
That's a great way to put it, peril.
Yeah, it's not just a book you read. It feels more like a conversation you step into.
A conversation, exactly. Yeah. And one that grabs you basically from page one.
Yeah.
The setup is, it's genius. We meet June Hayward. She's a white writer, and her career is, let's just say it's stalled. Like really.
The understatement.
Right. She feels completely overshadowed by Athena Liu, who's this celebrated young Chinese-American author, a total literary superstar. They have this kind of professional acquaintance, but underneath you feel this simmering envy from June. It's palpable.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. One night, they're celebrating something privately, and Athena tragically dies. It's described as this bizarre, freak pancake choking accident.
The sudden, out of nowhere.
Exactly. And in that moment, June's in Athena's apartment, and she sees it, an opportunity. She doesn't really hesitate. She grabs Athena's just finished, unpublished manuscript. It's a historical novel, apparently, about Chinese laborers in World War I.
A potentially huge book?
Huge. And she decides to publish it as her own. And the final touch, she comes up with this carefully crafted, ethnically ambiguous pen name, Juniper Song.
Wow. Okay. And this act, it just throws Juniper Song into the spotlight, doesn't it? The book becomes this massive hit. People are praising its authenticity, its timeliness.
The irony, right?
Oh, the irony is thick. But as our analysis points out, the success is built on, well, basically quicksand. Very quickly, the literary world, the media, online communities, they start asking questions about Juniper's identity, her authenticity, her motives.
The scrutiny must be intense.
Extremely. And our sources really detail June's psychological state through all this. You see her weaving these intricate justifications, these elaborate self-deceptions, and then this just relentless guilt and paranoia that starts creeping in, consuming her.
So it's kind of a thriller, too.
It really is. It blends psychological thriller elements with this deep character study. It's quite masterful. And what's really crucial here, something the analysis heavily emphasizes, is the unreliable narrator aspect.
Yes. Told entirely from her perspective.
Entirely. Kuang uses this so effectively. It's not just that June sees things skewed. It's almost a meta commentary on how stories get built and, believed. June is constantly sort of gaslighting herself and you, the reader, along with her, reframing the theft as maybe stewardship or even necessary.
Like she had to do it for the story to be told.
Precisely. And that forces you to constantly question everything she says. You become kind of complicit in her very unstable reality.
That's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? That unreliable narrator thing. It puts you on this constant tightrope with her. And it feels like that's the perfect springboard for Kuang to get into some, let's say, uncomfortable truths.
Definitely.
Because while we're watching June unravel, the analysis shows the novel unpacking these bigger, really provocative themes. What are some of the key ones the analysis pulls out?
Right. It's not just touching on these big ideas, it's really dissecting them. First, the analysis highlights cultural appropriation and ownership of stories. Yellowface doesn't just ask, is this okay? It digs into it as a systemic thing, looks at the power dynamics, the economics, stuff often overlooked.
So not just ethics, but who profits?
Exactly. How authenticity can be packaged and sold, sometimes faked for profit, often leaving the actual creators behind. It really examines who gets to tell which stories and who gets the recognition and the money when they blow up.
And it's not just June's individual act, right? The analysis also points to a broader critique of racism in publishing.
Oh, absolutely. Kuang's satire here is sharp. It looks at gatekeeping and tokenism. The analysis shows how she portrays an industry that, maybe in trying to look diverse, often goes for what's marketable over what's truly representative.
Like ticking a box.
Kind of, leading to this shallow tokenism where marginalized voices might get exoticized or maybe silenced or just used, like June's publisher. Even though they might suspect something's off, they actively use her ambiguous identity to sell the book.
Wow.
Yeah. It shows how easily real stories from marginalized authors can get pushed aside or, like here, co-opted for cash. It's a pretty damning look at an industry sometimes more worried about optics than equity.
It sounds almost depressingly accurate. And speaking of depressing accuracy, the novel also tackles social media and cancel culture, doesn't it? Which feels incredibly timely.
It really does. The analysis points out how vividly it portrays the whole cycle. Online outrage, how it shapes reputations, careers, whole narratives practically overnight.
That chaotic energy.
Exactly. Kuang captures that sort of frenetic, sometimes unhinged vibe of online debates really realistically. You see June as Juniper Song first get lifted up and then just relentlessly attacked by the digital mob. Total whiplash. It shows how fast public opinion can flip based on, bits of information, accusations, maybe just a desire for drama. It's a stark reflection of right now where truth can get buried under clicks.
It really can feel like a spectator sport sometimes, watching it happen. And underneath all this external drama, the book keeps circling back to June's internal drivers, right?
Yeah.
Like jealousy and ambition.
That's fundamental. June's deep-seated resentment towards Athena, it's not just the spark for the theft, it really fuels the entire story. The analysis shows Kuang meticulously illustrating how that envy can just, corrode integrity, like the source says.
Pushing her further and further.
Exactly. Down this increasingly unethical, self-destructive road. It's a powerful cautionary tale about ambition, When that desire for recognition isn't checked by any moral compass, it can completely warp someone. And if you connect this out, these themes aren't just about books, right? They echo everywhere. Film, TV, online content creation, even academia sometimes. It makes the novel this really powerful lens for looking at these broader conversations we're having about authenticity, representation, and fairness.
That connection is so important, isn't it? It makes you realize this isn't just literary navel-gazing. It's about how we operate culturally. And speaking of operations, our analysis really highlights how the characters and even the publishing industry itself kind of become characters in their own right.
They really do. Let's start with June Hayward. The analysis describes her as complex, flawed, and often unlikable, which is putting it mildly sometimes.
Yeah.
Her entitlement and insecurity are just laid bare right from the start. It makes her frustrating, definitely, but also weirdly fascinating.
You can't look away.
Exactly. You're drawn in, maybe not out of sympathy, but this morbid curiosity, like how far will she actually go? And that unreliable narrator style just ramps it up because you're stuck in her head wrestling with her justifications. A deep psychological dive.
So, yeah, not a simple villain, more complicated. And then Athena Liu, she dies so early, but she looms large, doesn't she?
Her presence is absolutely central. The analysis puts it well. She symbolizes both this incredible talent, like the real deal, and also the narratives themselves, her authentic stories, the ones June stole that June just cannot escape.
Like a ghost.
Very much so. Metaphorically, and maybe a bit literally in June's mind, it's Athena's ghost, her legacy, that keeps reminding June and us of the crime and the cultural weight of what was taken. It's a smart way to keep the ethical stakes sky high without Athena actually being there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the publishing industry is a character.
Yeah.
How does that play out?
Our analysis calls it exploitative, competitive, and driven by optics as much as art, which sounds about right based on the book. It's shown as this ecosystem that's less about pure literature and more about what sells, the image, the buzz. And this environment doesn't just allow June's deception by being a place where a white author writing an ethnic story might fly under the radar. It also amplifies everything when the truth starts to come out. The industry, then social media, they latch on to the controversy. It feeds the machine.
That's a chilling picture, how systems can enable the very things they might later condemn. So with all these complex layers, what's the verdict from the analysis on the book's overall impact? Been widely praised, yes, for being bold.
Oh, definitely praised for its boldness and sharp commentary. But yeah, it's not exactly a feel-good read.
No kidding.
The analysis highlights its strength, tackling these provocative themes with wit and bite. It makes the satire really land. The unreliable narrator is seen as key to why it's so compulsive. You're hooked, even while you're deeply suspicious of June.
Keeps you guessing.
Totally. And it captures the toxicity of online debates so well, feels very real. Plus, it just exposes contradictions within the publishing industry that maybe people sense but don't often see spelled out so bluntly.
Okay, but what about the criticisms? A book this provocative must have some pushback. The analysis mentions weaknesses, but maybe they're intentional.
That's exactly the framing. The analysis acknowledges, yes, some readers may find June's perspective exhausting or unlikable.
I can see that. Being in her head for 300 pages.
It's a lot. And yeah, it's noted that the satire can feel heavy-handed at times, depending on your taste, I guess. Kuang doesn't pull punches.
Right.
And crucially, the novel doesn't provide easy answers. It raises huge questions about ethics, culture, race, art, and then just leaves them hanging there.
Yeah.
Which can be frustrating if you want neat conclusions.
I'll maybe wrap up.
None at all. But here's the fascinating part. The analysis suggests these aren't really flaws in the traditional sense. They seem like deliberate choices. Choices that fuel the book's power to spark conversation, to make sure everyone will have an opinion, and that's exactly the point.
Ah, okay.
Kuang isn't trying to soothe anyone or offer simple solutions. It seems like she wants to provoke thought, make you engage critically. The discomfort is kind of the engine of the book. It's designed to make you wrestle with this stuff long after you finish it.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive really paints Yellowface as, daring, incredibly timely, and definitely uncomfortable. A novel that really pushes you to confront some hard truths about race, privilege, storytelling itself. It's a compelling, very sharp look at the dark side of ambition and just how complicated cultural ownership really is. It's one of those books that sticks with you, makes you think.
And it does raise this important question, I think, one that goes way beyond just this novel. In our world now, so connected by social media where stories get amplified or twisted in like an instant, and where we're constantly debating the lines between appreciating something, sharing it, and maybe appropriating it. How do we navigate that as readers, as creators, just as people in the culture? What's our responsibility?
Right.
Individually, collectively, in deciding whose stories get told, and maybe more importantly, how they get represented and received in this giant, messy, global conversation we're all part of?
That is a huge question.
Yeah.
And a really important one to keep wrestling with.
Powerful thoughts to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Yellowface. Keep thinking about those powerful themes, and we'll catch you next time.